What's up everyone, my name is Alpha and today we're back with another Pokemon challenge video. Today we're on Pokemon X and today's challenge we can have a Pokemon X Hardcore Nuzlocke using only shiny rock type Pokemon. Now actually we're running out of typing, so I have to expand my Pokemon game library sooner than later. But we are not done with X and Y just yet. We're on our last few typings and I was surprised that I haven't done rock type. I say this every single week, but I'm surprised I haven't done rock types yet. There's a lot of rock type Pokemon in this region, so it's gonna be really fun. So let's get into the actual rule set of this challenge video. It's gonna be a hardcore Nuzlocke, so essentially I can only catch the first shiny rock type Pokemon in each route. There's not gonna be a rock type Pokemon in every route, but when there is a rock type Pokemon, I can only catch one shiny Pokemon from that route. They do build up a lot because a lot of rock type Pokemon are in the same areas. It's gonna be a pain. And as well, each of my Pokemon only has one life, so if they ever faint, that means they're dead. I have to box them, not use them ever again. There's also a level cap. The level cap is going to be the highest level from each gym with the strongest Pokemon, and as well I have to play on set mode, so it's going to be a little harder, and also I can't use items inside of battle, so it's much harder than you would think. Anyways, there is one additional rule to this challenge video that makes it a lot more fun for everyone else. Each of my Pokemon will be nicknamed after you guys in comments, so thank you so much for leaving a comment in my previous challenge video. If you guys want to be nicknamed after a future Pokemon in my future challenge video, just drop it in the comments and hopefully I'll pick yours. And while you're down there, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get into the challenge video itself. Now to begin off with, there is not a rock type starter Pokemon for us, luckily, so we don't have to sit here and restart a bunch of times. But it is actually important to pick out the right starter Pokemon, so you actually want to pick out Chespin for this rock type challenge, because you don't want Serena to have either Chespin or a Froakie, because they will be very troublesome later on. It's important to get Serena the fire type Pokemon, and it's much easier later on just because of that. Now from there, we're actually gonna give ourselves a starter Pokemon. Since you don't get a rock type Pokemon into after the first gym, I decided to give myself a very basic rock type Pokemon that's good in the beginning game, but it's really not that good overall. We can't even evolve it, so I gave myself an Onix. If anyone really knows, Onix is not that great of a Pokemon. It doesn't have that great of attack, it has great defense, really good speed for some reason, and then bad everything else. But it's gonna be my starter Pokemon because it's one of those Pokemon that's not really broken ever. I think it's a fair trade-off to have at the beginning of the game. Now to begin off the game, since we're actually a mono-type team, it's actually really good against the first gym leader in the game. The first gym leader is gonna be a bug type gym leader, and her name is Viola. Now she can start the battle off against us using a Surge Kit, which is actually a bit troublesome if she had any water moves. Lucky enough, her only water move is Water Spout. Not Water Spout, Water Sport. So I'm able to just go for a Rock Tomb. I actually outspeed it anyways, knock him out in one shot, and somehow the Vivillon, even though it goes for a Harden, still surprised it lived this Rock Tomb. So yeah, good shout out to Vivillon for surviving that. But 2 Rock Tombs would knock out the Vivillon as we get our very first gym badge in the game, super easy with our ugly looking Onix. I really wanted to evolve it because I really love the gold coloring on Steelix. It's a shame that I don't do any trade evolutions because I want to do it in a sense that you guys can do it at home. I don't know who told me to structure my videos like that, but I've always done it since the start of my hardcore Nuzlocke, and I think I'm too late in to change it, so I have to keep it going, I guess. From there, we're gonna actually go out into the market where we're heading. So we actually end up getting the TM for Bodos, which is gonna be a very powerful move, which I think actually is on my team into the end of the game. So surprisingly enough, it's a very powerful move. From there, we're gonna actually head into Connecting Cave, and I made a point. There is no rock type Pokemon in here. I was just baffled by the fact that there's not even a Geodude. Super annoyed. Now moving on into Amber Town. Amber Town is gonna have this NPC that actually gives us the Rock Smash TM, and there is actually a very cool trick. Once you get the TM for Rock Smash, you can smash rocks obviously in the overworld, but over in the backside over here, this is actually Amber Town and not actually Route 8. So surprisingly, this actually counts as an Amber Town encounter. As you see, I go back and forth, it's still the town, so I could actually get a Route 8 encounter and also an Amber Town encounter. So I'm pretty sure I could get a Binacle or a Thrubble in here, and lucky enough we get a bunch of items. It was very fun getting a bunch of items here for free, but eventually we get ourselves a shiny Thrubble as our first Pokemon to catch, so it's gonna be pretty good. So that means we also don't play with dupes, so we don't get a Thrubble in Route 8, so we could actually prioritize getting a shiny Binacle later on. Very important to have. Now moving on, we're actually gonna move out into Glittering Cave, and there's another area for us to encounter. There's actually multiple rock type Pokemon we can get in this, and I was kind of hoping there's a certain like 2 Pokemon, Lunatone or Sorrock, I'm looking for. I don't want a Rhyhorn and I don't want an Onix. We already gave ourselves an Onix, so we can't get Onix again. So lucky enough, we actually run into a shiny Sorrock. Kind of wanted a Lunatone, but you know what? Beggars cannot be choosers, as we're gonna get ourselves a Sorrock with our Great Ball. even though it got very close to knock me out somehow with Fire Spin. And I was debating about just running away, but you know what, one more ball and this lucky ball caught the Solrock. And now from there we're actually gonna move out into this end of area in the Glittering Cave where you get the fossils. Obviously the fossil Pokemons in this game are obviously, or any game, they're obviously rock type. Actually, take it back, not the fossils in Galar, none of them are rock types, but most of the time they are rock type Pokemon. But I don't want that type of fossil. I recently found out, or recently remembered, that you could actually get an old amber in here. So I spent the next half an hour smashing rocks back and forth while watching, I don't know, I think Mario Party. But eventually I got myself an old amber from this rock, which I can go back and actually restore it into an Aerodactyl. So it's actually pretty interesting. I could actually start using Aerodactyl on my team. Well, obviously I have to shiny hunt for it, but this will be my fossil encounter, and I won't actually count the other one as well. I got myself a Jaw fossil, but I leave that as a regular Pokemon and not get it shiny. So my fossil encounter is going to be an Aerodactyl opposed to a Tyrant. We eventually get a shiny Aerodactyl, which is pink and actually looks really cool in this generation. And I got really excited because it took a little bit, just including everything, the fossil finding and also the reviving process. But eventually we got ourselves a shiny Aerodactyl, and I'm very happy to see it work. Now, we actually put it to work immediately as we're going to shiny hunt for another Pokemon. Immediately. We can go out into Route 8, and remember what I said about Binacle? We can actually just search out here freely without worrying about anything because Dwebble, we already caught a Dwebble. So our only encounter for this area is going to be a shiny Binacle, which we eventually found. It took me a little bit, but eventually we did find ourselves a shiny Binacle added to our team, and that is pretty neat. We're then going to go into the second gym. Yeah, we spent all this time and we're only at the second gym. From there, we're going to face off against Grant next. Grant is the rock type gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against Grant using my Binacle. We're going to clamp down the Amora. Well, unfortunately it gets, paralyzed and kind of stuck in paralysis, but eventually I'm able to clamp down the Amora. 2 clamps will knock him out, which is really nice. So it's a good start, good battle for Binacle, and then I can switch out Binacle into my Onix, which can take any hits from the Tyrant easily. I could Bodos twice into the Tyrant and knock him out as we get our second gym badge in the game. Super simple. From there, we actually can head into Route 10, and in here we can actually find ourselves another shiny Pokemon. On my very first attempt with my Honey, on a very first Horde, we get a shiny Nosepass. Very first Horde. Do you know how insane that is? Number 1, there's multiple Pokemon inside hordes that you can find. Number 2, we found the shiny we exactly wanted. And unlucky, it doesn't have sturdy. But you know what? That's fine. We get ourselves a shiny Nosepass. We're going to add it to our team. Amazingly amazing. So we're going to have that as a golden Nosepass. And I think I used Nosepass a lot, thinking back to it. How many times have I used Nosepass in my X and Y runs? Anyways, from there, we're going to face off against Karina next. Karina is going to be the fighting type gym leader in the game. We're going to start the battle off against her using obviously my Solrock because it's a part psychic type. We're going to actually just go for confusion, and I'm kind of disappointed. You'll see why in a second, but I'm gritting my teeth by looking at this because I end up knocking out the Mienfoo and then slowly knock out the Hawlucha. It's going to actually do a lot of damage to me and actually force me out as it heals up. So it's kind of annoying. I can't risk it. I had to switch out into my Aerodactyl, which is completely fine with me because Aerodactyl is really good. I'm able to just Rock Tomb it 3 times and it's gonna eventually just not do any damage with Flying Press as I'm able to knock him out. And I didn't even realize this. I used Ancient Power looking for the stat boost, and I actually got the stat boost. I was looking away. I didn't realize I got the stat boost. But yeah, I got the stat boost on that, and my Solrock levels up to level 33 and learns Psychic within the same battle. So yeah, that's where I'm creasing right now because it's so annoying. From there, I'm able to just 2-shot down a Machoke. Can't do too much to me, even though it has a super effective move. I bulldoze it twice, knock out the Machoke, and we end up beating Karina pretty easily. Now from there, we actually go into this cliffside and talk to this girl. Now it took 3 different days, but eventually I got the TM for Acrobatics, which is a flying type move that has a lot of power if your Pokemon is not holding a Hell item. Now unfortunately, the only Pokemon that could learn this acrobatic flying move is my Solrock. And you know what? I just took the liberty and added on to Solrock. Solrock's gonna have acrobatics into the end of the game because I was not worried about the Solrock at all. Solrock just needed Psychic and Calm Mind on it. From there, we also get the Sky Plate for my Aerodactyl and teach it the HM for Fly, as we're gonna face off against Ramos next. Ramos is the Grass type gym leader and also the 4th gym leader in the game. We're gonna start the battle off against him using my Aerodactyl to just fly, immediately knock out the Jump Bluff. And then his next Pokemon will be a Weeping Bell, which I also go for a Fly. I'm not too sure why he's not going for Go. He always goes for Go-Go as his second Pokemon. But we're also going to fly, knock out his Go-Go, and we end up being down ground most pretty easily. Easy battle, I don't know what else to say. I evolved my Nose Pass right after this in the desert. Evolve it into a Probo Pass, which looks pretty cool. From there, we're going to head into the power plant and also evolve my Crustle. Now, in this plant, it's very important that I stay under level cap. I say that, but my Aerodactyl actually went over the level cap, which isn't too big of a deal because I wasn't planning on using him on the next gym. The next gym is going to be Clement's gym, which is going to be an electric type gym leader. We're going to start the battle off against him as the 5th gym leader using my Onix. Now, Onix, pretty good Pokemon. Immune to electric type moves, so it's actually pretty good. We're going to Rock Slide immediately onto the Moga, and surprisingly it lived, so it's kind of embarrassing. Onix is pretty weak, so 2 Rock Slides will end up knocking out the Amoga, and then he sends out his Heliolisk, which does have Grass Knot, so I have to be careful. I switched out into my Crustle, which is able to live a Thunderbolt and also get a Bodos on it, and then I can switch out to my Probo Pass, which is unfortunately not able to do a lot of damage as it gets Grass Knotted, and Rock Blast is unable to kill, because of course I don't got the luck. I still stayed in though, because I believe in the special defense, and Rock Blast still did not do enough, so I decided, I know it's going to go for an electric type move. I decided to go out to my Onix and pray that the first Bodos I got on them makes his speed lower enough that I can actually outspeed him, and it actually, lucky enough, it did. So we end up knocking out the Heliolisk, and then from there, we could actually knock out the Magneton. No, I take that back. Magnamon will one-shot my Onix. So you know what? That was not the best play, but I can switch out to my Crustle, which is able to knock out the Magneton. From there, we can move out and face off against Valerie next, which I kind of glossed over the fact that I lost my first Pokemon. Kind of embarrassing, but I just assumed it was going to survive a Magnum Bomb. I'm not going to lie, but unfortunately, Onix goes down, and we have to face off against the next gym leader next. 1 Pokemon down on my team, but that should be fine as we start the battle off against Valerie using my Crustle to use Swords Dance multiple times and do 0 damage to the Mawile because I forgot to teach it Bodos. So that's a shame. I eventually still knock out the Mawile, and then also knock out the Mr. Mime in the same process. From there, she's going to switch out into her Sylveon, and I stayed in, survived a Dazzling Gleam, and Poison Jab does not knock her out, and it's going to be another Sylveon board fest. So I switched out to my Barbarical. I'm able to do a lot of damage to him, and then switch back in between. Eventually, I am able to knock out the Sylveon and receive the 6th gym badge in the game fairly easily. Again, we're just going to make our beeline right into the next gym. We're going to face off against Olympia next. Olympia is going to be the Psychic type gym leader in the game. Should be pretty easy. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Aerodactyl to crunch right into the Sigilyph as it sets up Reflect, so that's annoying. I'm able to crunch and then actually Iron Head into him to waste some turns. She's going to heal up after that as I'm able to go for an Ice Fang and a crunch to knock out the Sigilyph. I didn't count turns. I'm not too sure if that was enough turns, but I switched out my Aerodactyl against the Slowking anyways because, you know what, if it survived, it's still going to knock out my Aerodactyl. So I switched out to my Crustle against the Slowking. And from there, I go for an X-Scissor, and it one-shots the Slowking. So that does a lot of damage. From there, I would just stay in. Hopefully, I wake up against the Meowstic. It went for 2 Psychics, and yeah, not staying in anymore. So I decided to switch out into my Pro Pass for some reason. And I go for a Thunder Wave, and then switch out to my... What am I doing? Okay, eventually I'll grow a Brain. And switch out into my Barbarical, my newly found Barbarical, and then Stone Edge to knock out the Meowstic as we get our 7th gym badge in the game. I'm a headache. I don't understand what happened there. But from there, I'm going into the Team Flare hideout, clearing through 0-6. His team is not too difficult at all. We cleared through Team Flare, and now we face off against Xerneas. Now, we caught Xerneas with a missing Pokemon, so that means he's going to jump into the front of my team, which I really didn't think of. So unfortunately, we're going to face off against Lysander with an actual handicap. So that means I had to switch out my Xerneas on the first turn. So I switched out into my Aerodactyl on the first turn. Lucky enough, Lysander's Mienshao only went for Swords Dance. I go for a Fly immediately. It misses High Jump Kick, and I'm able to knock him out in one shot. Super simple. His next Pokemon will be a Honchkrow, which surprisingly I don't have a Rock move on my Rock type Pokemon. But Ice Fang will actually one-shot the Honchkrow. And then from there, he's going to switch out into his Pyroar, which I was not worried at all. I was like, you know what, I can survive any move. Crunch into him, lower his defense. He's going to Fire Blast. Lucky enough, he didn't burn, and I'm able to crunch again, knock out the Pyroar, and his final Pokemon will be a Gyarados, which this thing I should be worried about. So I decided to actually switch out, obviously, go out into my Barbarical. I know I don't have a bug move or anything. I could have Bodos, that could have been useful, but Stone Edge lands and does about that much. I could risk it, but I decided against it because I want my Barbarical. I need him to win. So I switched out into my Crustle, and I was hoping he survived on Aqua Tail, and he did not. So that was terrible. It's terribly planned. I decided to go out into my Aerodactyl next, and I assume since I have a Sky Plate on, Fly should be enough to knock out the Gyarados, and it is enough as I were able to knock out the Gyarados, and we end up being Lysander pretty easily, but at the cost of my Crustle, so we have to go back and replace him. We went back into Reflection Cave, which we skipped earlier. There is an encounter in here for us. There's actually 2 encounters. You could get yourselves a Carbink or a Rock and Rolla. I decided to go for Rock and Rolla because it's easier, and you find them in hordes. So we find ourselves a Rock and Rolla added to our team pretty nicely. Our next Pokemon will be in Terminus Cave. You can find yourselves an Aeron in X and a Larvitar in Y. Unfortunately, you find Geodudes in both games, and Geodude is the most common. So unfortunately, we find ourselves a shiny Geodude instead. So yeah, and this Geodude almost died because one of its friends started using Magnitudes, almost knocking out the other Geodude. So yeah, lucky enough, we still end up catching the Geodude, but got very close. From there, we're gonna face off against our friends at the bridge, and yeah, we smoked them. That's all it is. From there, we're gonna face off against Wolfric, and we also smoked him very easy. We start the battle off against him using my Aerodactyl. That's how confident I am. I went for an Iron Head immediately, flinches down to Bombasnow, which is insane, and we end up knocking him out 2-shot. His next Pokemon will be a Cragno. I 1-shot it, and then his next Pokemon will be his Avalok, which I switched out into my Probopass, which completely walls him. I'm surprised he doesn't have Body Press, but 2 Power Gems should knock him out. As I went, I went around this the terrible way. I went Earth Power, Discharge, and then Power Gem. I showed him my whole move coverage, so that's nice. Waste of time there. From there, we're going to go into Victory Road next, and we're going to clear through Victory Road pretty easily. My Aerodactyl is, you could tell what my favorite Pokemon is, because it's the Pokemon I use the most. Now, from there, we're going to actually head into the Pokemon League after clearing through Victory Road, and now we're going to face off against Malva next. Malva is going to be the first Elite Four member in the game. She's also the Fire-type Elite Four member. We're going to start the battle off against her using my Barbarical. I went for Razor Shell, I actually missed it, and then I went for Shell Smash, because that was not a good play. So my defense drops, but all my attack stat boosts sharply, kind of like that. But and you know what, it works for this fight, as we're able to 1-shot the Pyro, 1-shot the Torkoal, 1-shot the Chandelier, and then her final Pokemon will be a Talonflame, which I 1-shot as well. We end up clearing down Malva pretty easily, and we move on and face up against Wingstrom next. Wingstrom is going to be the Steel type Elite Four member of the game. We're going to start the battle off against him using obviously my Barbarical still. I switched out Shell Smash. You might be, you know, shaking your head at this. I actually prefer Power Up Punch in this situation because it's not competitive play. So I decided to go for Power Up Punch against him. I go for Bodos immediately. I thought I was gonna kill, but actually works out better because he's gonna be forced to use a healing item. I go for a Power Up Punch once again, get an attack boost, and then go for a Bodos to knock out the Klefki. And then his next Pokemon will be a Probopass, which I go for a Power Up Punch obviously, knock him down to low HP, and he's gonna heal up again. So I go for Power Up Punches, 2 more Power Up Punches, and that should be the end of the battle essentially, as he's unable to do any more damage to me. And from there, he switches out into his H-Slash. I do have Bodos, and I'm able to 1-shot it with a super effective move. And his final Pokemon will be a Scizor, which I go for a Razor Shell, 1-shot him super easily. We end up being Wingstrom, and now we face off against Drasna next. Drasna is the Dragon type Elite Four member. We're gonna start the battle off against her with my Soul Rock, which you haven't seen since like the 2nd gym. Anyways, we can go for a Psychic immediately against the Dragalge and realize it doesn't do a lot of damage, surprisingly. But I do have Calm Mind, so I went for Calm Mind. I survived the Surf easily, and I go for a Psychic and a 1-shot or 2-shot Dragalge. So, you know, it actually works out. So Soul Rock gets a little shine. I go out into my Aerodactyl against the Altaria, and I'm able to Ice Fang into him and 1-shot the Altaria, which is pretty nice. Her next Pokemon will be a Noivern, which I go for an Ice Fang again to 1-shot it. Super nice. And then, oh, I don't 1-shot. I don't now 1-shot a Noivern, which is 4 times weak. Anyways, I outspeed him anyways, so I'm able to Ice Fang, knock out the Noivern in 2 shots, still, somehow. From there, her final Pokemon will be a Druddigon, which does a lot of damage to me, but I'm able to actually get him down to half HP. And from there, and you saw the damage with my Barbarical. Even if I missed, the Revenge wouldn't knock out my Barbarical. But if I do hit, I should knock out the Druddigons. It's actually a no-risk play at all, as we're able to beat down Drasna pretty easily. Now from there, we're going to actually face off against Shielberg next, and this is when it got rocky. So my entire team is Rock type, so it's going to be a little difficult. Let's start the battle off against Shielberg using my Barbarical, because I thought that was the best option. I went for an immediate Power Punch, and it went for an Aura Sphere, which almost knocked on my Barbarical. So I was actually kind of hedging on the Stone Edge landing, and lucky enough it did land, knock out the Clawitzer, which was good. His next Pokemon will be a Gyarados, which lowers my attack stat, so my boost is gone, and I can't let it set up, so I decided to go for a Stone Edge immediately. Luckily enough, it lands that one as well. Gyarados goes down. His next Pokemon will be his own Barbarical, which I can't stay in because it's going to have Cross Chop. I don't have a fighting move to stop him. So I went out into my Graveler, and Graveler surprisingly survived. Wow, Graveler actually survives that, so maybe not the best play, but you know what? It worked out. I went out to my Probopass next, assuming it has Sturdy. It did not have Sturdy, it had Magpul. So my Probopass went down immediately after that. So things are not looking too good for me. I decided to go out to my Solrock out of everything. Solrock actually lives in attack from it and can get him down to low HP-ish. I mean, it lowers the special defense and then Razor Shells me. Not a good look, but I was kind of pondering what I should do next in this moment. So I went out to my Barbarical. I decided to go for a Stone Edge. Lands the third Stone Edge. You gotta give me credit. Lands the Stone Edge. Clutch mode. Knock out the Barbarical. And then from there, I sent out my Boldore against the Starmie just to sack him. Because I know my Aerodactyl can live one move, but I don't know. I went out for a Crunch. Knocks down the Starmie to low HP, but it's gonna serve me, and I survive it barely. And I knock out the Starmie, but 4 of my members are gone. But the last 2 members on my team are actually the strongest members that I had left. So it's Aerodactyl and also Barbarical left, so it's a not bad team. From there, we're going to face off against the champion next. We're going to face off against Diantha with only our 2 Pokemon. I start the battle off against Diantha using my Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is going to fly immediately, and Hawlucha Swords Dance. So it actually works out. We're getting one-shot to Hawlucha easily, and then her next Pokemon will be a Tyrantrum. I went for an Iron Head, and luckily enough, it flinches with a crit. So everything's rolling my side. After that horrible fight against Steelberg, my plan was against Tyrantrum was to actually use Power Punch after it knocked out my Aerodactyl. But I guess I didn't need it, as she sends out her Auroras right after I go for an Iron Head. It's gonna one-shot since it's 4 times weak. Her next Pokemon will be a Gudra, which I actually decided to switch out into my Barbarical. It dodges a Muddy Water, and I could go for a Stone Edge immediately. Doesn't knock him down to low HP, and then she's about, we're about the same range of HP. And I go for a Stone Edge again, and I did not miss. I hit 5 Stone Edges in a row, which is insane because all of them matter a lot. From there, she sends out her Gourgeist, which I go out into my Aerodactyl. It's going to go for a Seed Bomb, which is fine. I go for a Fly to eventually knock out the... Wow. How did Gourgeist live? But anyways, eventually I will knock out the Gourgeist, right? I don't know how this is working out for this Gourgeist. I don't know how tanky it is, but eventually we do end up knocking out the Gourgeist, and our final Pokemon will be a Mega Gardevoir, which I decided to go for an Iron Head, and surprise, surprise, I got another flinch. So, infinite flinch hacks with the Iron Head. This is why Jirachi is so broken, but eventually we're able to actually knock out the Gardevoir without taking any damage, without losing a single Pokemon in the final battle. We lost a lot of Pokemon before, we have Death Counter of 6, but not the champion room, guys. But that should do it as we closed the chapter and this video on that note. We end up beating Pokemon X Hardcore Nuzlocke using only shiny rock-type Pokemon. Now, it's actually been a very interesting challenge. I was actually pretty excited to get this out because I really wanted the Aerodactyl. And Aerodactyl actually came through at the end. I don't think I beat this with Tyrantrum instead of Aerodactyl. I don't know. Tyrantrum does have Dragon Dance. It's pretty good, but Aerodactyl is just something else. It's just something amazing. Anyways, that will be the end of the video. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you guys can, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. It means a lot to me. Anyways, my name's been Alpha. Hope you guys all had a great day, and I'm out. Peace.